Okay, so those setups were made specifically as I showed it in the videos, and those are like introduction setups that you should have on if you're going to play this game as a beginning point of view. If you're first playing this game, you want to see how you want to set certain things up. I would suggest put those settings on. Um, you want to increase your brightness, you could increase the brightness from inside the game, from the setting itself. Um, you want to actually mute chat, you could do it from inside the game itself. You don't need to use your headset. You you want to actually access certain things, you could do that from inside the game itself. Um, you want to character creations, you could do character creation from the introduction settings, which is that main settings that I just showed you right there. Now you got at the beginning of that setting, it showed three different loadouts: left, right, R1, R2. I mean R2, L2, go back and forth. There's three different ones, so you could, depending on the type of game that you're in, it would show the loadout of that game. So one loadout could take you to a different section of the game based on the save. A different loadout could take you to a different section of the game. So depending on where you are in the game, you could choose a loadout. If you want to show someone the ropes and how to first play the game, if they've never played it before, they could switch to your control share play, and you could tell them everything as you're speaking in a party chat from the game itself, and show them how to do things from inside the game. So once you're inside the game, you're in the tutorial section. This thing won't be present. This huge crystal here won't be present until you finish the tutorial section of this area, of this ward. So once you finish the tutorial section of this ward, this crystal will be present. So in order to first complete the tutorial section of this ward at the beginning, the main person at the beginning will tell you to complete certain tasks. Oh, where is she? The chief of this ward will tell you to complete certain tasks. So this woman right here, once you communicate with her,
If you
she
need
would speak to
anything,
you.
ask around.
She would speak to you, and then she will tell you to do certain things. At the beginning, she will give you certain things to do, and it'll pop up in your mission window. Now, if you want to know where your mission window is, you press the center of your D-pad. It will pop up. It will show you your mini map. Now, you cannot increase or decrease your map within this game, which is the shittiest part of this game, and probably one of the bad things about this game. But what you can do, however, you can decide to, um, in the options menu, to decide if you want to increase your map size or decrease your map size. I would suggest not to decrease your map size. You say mini-map opacity, mini-map size. My suggestion is to keep it as high as possible, because based on this is as big as it gets. It gets actually smaller. So why did they decide to do that? I still don't get it. So once she gives you an objective, it will pop up here. It will be in the board, like a main headline board underneath the map section, and it will state specific things that you have to do as your objectives. It says explore Ward Prime. Now this is only stating this is because I've already finished certain parts of the game. At the beginning, once you do the tutorial, it will state certain things here right on top of the map itself, and you complete those tutorials and you finish them and fight enemies, and you go back to her. Now the first thing you need to know in order to fight enemies, if once you before you even reach to her, you will see enemies, and it will tell you about crouch, it will tell you about dodging, rolling, and it will tell you about aiming and switching weapons, and it will tell you about moving from side to left. Main thing I would state at the beginning, prior to even engaging your first enemy, is to perfect the dodging ability. Mainly, you would want to dodge left and right when an enemy throws a projectile at you, or tries to take a swing at you, or charges in front of you and does a melee swing towards you. In this game, in order to be very good at this game, at the beginning you would be tempted to do this, to do this, to do this. The main thing to do when you're fighting enemies throwing projectiles at you is to move left and to move right when they're at a distance throwing projectiles. because the game is showing the game itself, the AI is throwing from where they are, right over there, to where you are, right over here at this section. So the moment they throw a weapon and you see they throw a weapon, you just move this way, and the weapon that they're throwing will go over here because there's no tracking of weapons. All the enemy throws are projectile weapons. Every weapon they throw that's a weapon type, a melee weapon type, or a gun they shoot are projectile types, except for bosses who have lock-on type abilities that aren't projectiles, or have abilities that are projectiles but cause AoE damage once they hit from one side to here. Like say, if a boss throws a projectile and it goes over here and you walk over here, the AoE blast will cause a minor effect to you if you're over here. You won't take direct damage, but you'll be affected. Once the boss does an AoE attack, only then will you do side rolls. You walk to the side and then use the side rolls to quickly dodge an AoE attack, and based on the speed. But most of the times when you're fighting enemy that are throwing a projectile at you, you walk from one side to the next, you shoot at them, walk, shoot at them again, walk side, shoot at them, walk side. So as they're throwing this way, you're walking this way and shooting at them. And they throw this way, and you're over here and you shoot at them, bam, they're dead. And same for switching weapons. Switching weapons is triangle. And what you do in order for you to increase your power of your weapons, as it will show at the bottom lower right, what you would do is you cap off your first round of your main weapon, go to the side, cap off the second round of your weapon, switch to the second, cap off the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, how many rounds you have in your first, and once you start loading on that one, or how many you want to load on, and then go to your next one. Wait till that one loads, switch to your main weapons. Do it, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. Switch to the next one. Go that way. And then switch, switch, switch. Move. It's really up to you how you want to play. Now, if an enemy gets too close, all you gotta do is, because what it is when you switch off between weapons, rather than kill an enemy with a single weapon, because if an enemy doesn't go down with a rifle or whatever weapon you're using on the first 2 shots or 3 shots, and you switch to your next weapon, the single purpose of switching to the next weapon and then doing the killing blow on second weapon is to increase the mod power of the weapon. Like the little circular object next to the weapon, the pistol or the rifle, or mod power, and they generate over time based on the amount of damage you do to the enemy. If it's a direct shot, you get more mod generation. If it's an indirect shot that's close to the enemy, does some damage, you get a percentage of generation. If it's a body shot, leg shot, whatever, even if it's a kill, it generates. So you want to constantly generate these 2 back and forth together. You don't always want to generate one more than the other. The only time you want to generate one more than the other if a weapon mod is more powerful than another weapon mod. Like say if your rifle is the most powerful weapon, and the weakness to that enemy element the mod that you put on that weapon, the enemy is weak to that mod power, and you have it in your most powerful weapon, you want to generate the mod on this weapon more than anything. Now, in order to generate, once it's maxed out like it is, the mod generation is maxed out, the full circle that you see down there, you then press R1. This automatically initiates the mod power, which you see right there, and it's a glowing little thing right there, and it starts glowing, 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 and it only lasts for a certain period. So every time you shoot, you're not only shooting a round, you're shooting a fire round inside of your round that you're using until the generation period of that mod goes away. And it's the same for this one. You press R1, the power will go boom, 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 will last, go, move side to side, switch. Now as you see, I switch back to the rifle. the heat generation of the rifle is loading while this one is still on. So while this is still active and enemies still get hit by this mod power prior to it's going out, you want to keep on your primary weapon and keep loading the mod of this primary weapon while the mod power of the secondary weapon is in effect. So once this goes out, you switch to this one and make sure your rifle one goes back on. Or you could do back and forth. You can make sure this goes on and this is on, and then you use this power and don't use it until this one goes off, or use both of them both at the same time and switch back and forth to generate both of them at the same time. Now as he say, oh that's it, that means you run out of bullets. This would happen in the game. So once this happens in the game, you have a gear wheel as you see to the lower left hand corner of the screen. Now that gear wheel gives you health, gives you ammunition, gives you elemental resistance, and gives you bandage. Now it's up to you what you want to put in the gear wheel based on the enemies you're going to fight. As a default, you always want to have healing in your gear wheel. So the ones that says Forder right here are Bloodworths. They're the ones at the top, and they do the healing. And so I drank this, and eventually my health will start to regenerate, which is shown at the lower right hand corner. However, I'm not fighting any enemies, so I'm not taking any damage, so it's not going to show me the increasing generation of my health. But that's what the Bloodworths are for, the increased generation of health over time as you're in combat. Now I ran out of bullets, so what it shows here is a cache of ammo crate for bullets. So what you need to do is you need to refill your ammo while you're in combat. So while you're walking side to side, you refill your ammo crate. So once your ammo crate is full, the ammo crate will show invisible, like there, like it was bright before, but now it went a little dark. That means both ammos for your secondary and your primary weapon have been completely full. So once you load weapon into your primary weapon or into your secondary weapon, whichever one ran out, it will automatically load into your primary as well. Now in the gear wheel, you could decide what you want to put into your gear wheel. And in order to put into your gear wheel, you go for L2 or Alt2 back and forth on your sheet right here. Once you center on the D-pad, you go into inventory and you select, going back and forth, the item you want in your gear wheel. You could have Returnal and you could have ammo crate box. And in order to select ammo crate box, you don't press X on it. What you do is press square on it. Pressing square on it will pull up your quick menu gear wheel. On anything, it will pull up your quick menu gear wheel. Here, so once you go on the object you want to put in the gear wheel, you press square on that item, and it'll put your quick menu gear wheel, and you select where you want to put it. Press square and you can put it over here, or you can put it over there. And just move back and forth with the direction pad of your controller. Now, because the enemies I'm fighting are infested types, I'm going to select protection from infected effects. So I'm going to press square on that one. Gear wheel pops up, and I put it over there. And that's how you do your gear wheel. You always want to have bleeding effect on, so you put square on that and put it at the bottom. And so now in your gear wheel, you have ammo, you have protection from infected types, and you have bandages that you could use. Which, see, I'm not bleeding out from gunshot wounds or slash wounds, so I don't need to apply it. And these are the main ones you want to have on. So if your enemy type give a certain type of elemental effect, you want to have electricity protection on. If your enemy does a radiation effect, you want to put it over here in your gear wheel, because now you have radiation resistance on. See, and that will happen. I just wasted that one, but it doesn't matter. The purpose of this video is to show. So it's very important not to automatically press on a certain elemental one. Unlike ammo capacity, once your ammo is full, it will stay full until you decide to cap off a round. Now it's visible, because now you don't have any more rounds. So you have to be very careful on how you use your rounds, how you use your elementals, how you use your bleeding, that you just don't just waste it. So let's say an enemy scratches you, but it doesn't take a lot of your health and cast a bleed effect, but the bleed effect is not that powerful. You don't want to waste your bandages on a bleeding effect from an enemy that does a heavy bleeding, a light bleeding effect. If it doesn't do incredible damage, all you want to do is just use your blood worth. Because in this game, once you have a bleeding effect, everything counts down. Some have a longer duration period, some have a shorter duration period. If the enemy is weak, the bleeding effects will be short. If the enemy's corrosive is weak, the corrosive duration on you will be short. So if you drink a blood worth like his, and your health is generating over time, it doesn't matter what the effect of the worth, the corrosion or the radiation or the bleeding is. If it's generating enough time during the period, it will last longer than whatever the elemental effect by the enemy is affecting you, and it'll eventually go away. And your blood worth effect will still last longer than anything else, any type of other elemental effects done to you onto the game. So you could keep that on, and you might want to drink another one if your health is at half after it recovers you, just to make your health goes at max health. But you don't need to use your elemental resistant type unless the damage is severe, or they're taking a lot of damage, or duration period is taking a lot more from your health and you need to recover. And one of the main things you will learn in this game is that it's something called dragon fruit. And you never want to use your dragon fruit, because dragon fruit, like I'm doing right now, instantly restores your health. Now what it does, however, it takes away from your regeneration pool. Like I'm going to do it again. Now you see it's now at 8. If you look down next to my weapon rifle, while I'm swinging back, it's right near. It's a little orb, like a little circular dragon fruit type thing. I see it dissipates, it goes in black. Now it's at 6. Now it's at 5. Now it's at 4. You never want to use this because it, what it does is restores your health to full. And sometimes the damage you take is not necessary for you to use up all of it. Now the best part about the dragon fruit, however, if you're at a save point, no matter what save point you're at, once you go to the save point, and these things are save point, these crystals are save point, it would automatically regenerate your dragon fruit back to the amount you originally had. So now you're right back up to the 10 that you had before. So even if you keep taking it and keep taking it, keep taking it based on the enemy types that you're fighting, and you're taking a lot of damage, if you abuse it and you're not near a save point, then you're kind of screwed. So you got to kill the enemy before you get to the save point. But if you use up a lot of it and you abuse it, and you're down to like 1 or down to 0, and boom, you kill the enemy, this powerful enemy right before you see the save point, you can always go to that save point, and it will regenerate back your dragon fruit to give you your 10 back or 7 back or whatever amount you have. And it also restores your ammo, as well as restores the maximum power of your mods. So even if I use up my mods, they are 1, I use this, I'll wait for them to go out. I use up my weapon ammo capacity. I'll wait for my mod duration on both mods to run out. Use up all my ammo as I can. Okay, see, now they're both out. And my ammo for my rifle is at 22, and ammo for my pistol is at 13. But if I go over here to the save point, it will now instantly regenerate all the magazines within my weapons, and all the mod power, and the dragon fruit as well. It won't give me more ammo in my gear wheel, because this is something you have to buy separately, but anything that I have in my weapon at the time will be automatically regenerated. So if I need to truck through an area and I don't have any more purchased ammo crates, I could always go back to my save crystal here and generate the least amount of ammunition I need to get to the next area and then do a save. Now within the ward you have different people you go to purchase items from. You can have Reggie here who gives you ammo crates and different mods, and then you have the trader here which you could trade. Where you could trade materials that or sell materials, like sell different type of materials for money. And you would definitely need to sell a lot of materials for money if you ran out of money, or you need to buy materials in order to get the materials you want to make your gear stronger. So the fun part about her, you could sell a certain amount of materials to require money, or you could sell money to or not sell money but sell or buy materials to, if you have enough money, to get what you want. In order to sell and buy, you just do the L2, R2, and we'll go to sell and buy. Once you sell and buy, you go R1, R2, L1, R2, L1, R1. And it's up to you how you could do certain things. And once you have what you need, when she becomes available, she will be, after your tutorial, but her and the gentleman, and this gentleman as well. These three will be main people that will be unlocked. Actually, these four.
Take care, my friend.
These four will be main people unlocked once you finish your tutorial. She will be available once you finish your tutorial. He will be available once you finish your tutorial. The guy that sells the items and the woman that does the trading will be available once you finish your tutorial. And he's the main one you want to go to upgrade your gear.
Certainly.
And once you upgrade your gear, what you need to do, and this is very important, in upgrade, it will show you upgrade weapons. And just like the other ones where you go back and forth, you press R1 and L1 to switch between either armor or weapons. Now if you want to upgrade the weapon you want, you go R1, press L1, R1, go back and forth. Now you're in armor, upgrade the armor that you have on, and you give it the maximum amount of materials that it needs based on what you've been farming in mission. However, I suggest that if you're running with your friend and your gear is stronger than your friend's gear, never go beyond a gear score that's too higher than his. If your gear score is 5 and his gear score is 6, keep it that way. If your gear score is 4 and your friend's gear score is 3, keep it that way. But if your gear score is like 7 and your friend's gear score is 5, it's going to be very difficult for them to fight in your mission and kill the enemies that you're fighting because their gear score is weaker than yours. Because that's how enemies are based in the game, on gear score. Not on how powerful your weapon is, or I guess you could say on how powerful your weapon is and how powerful your armor is. Well, it doesn't. The enemies aren't based on your rank. Like say your rank up to in your traits, you're at a certain trait amount. The enemies are really based on how high your gear score is. Like if your gear score is 15, enemies will be at least 16 or 17. 2 gear scores higher than you, or probably 16 and 17. And I'd say if your gear score is at 4, your enemy will be at gear score 5 and 6. In enemies, bosses will be at 6. Regular enemies will be at 5. If your gear score is 4. If your gear score is 15, bosses will be at 17, and regular enemies will be at 15, and so on and so forth. If you're starting off at the beginning and your gear score is like 2 or 1, the enemies will be at 3. If your gear score is 2, the enemies will be at 3, bosses will be at 4. So that's how things go in the game. Most enemies in the game will be 1 gear score higher than you to increase the difficulty. 1 or 2 gear scores higher than you. Bosses are typically at least 2 gear scores higher than you in strength. 2 or 3 gear scores higher than in strength because they're bosses. Standard enemies are usually 1 gear score higher than you. And mini bosses are usually 2 gear scores higher than you, and bosses are either 2 or 3 gear scores higher than you, in order to give you a little challenge in the game. But if you're in someone's mission and they are stronger than you, make sure they are at least 1 gear score higher than you, no more than 1. If they're 2 or more, then it's going to be hard for you to kill their enemies. Vice versa, the same thing. So with that said, it's up to you whether you want to fight in someone who has a much higher gear score than you, knowing that for a fact you will probably be carried most of the mission on the way, because you won't be doing a lot of damage, they will be. And the same thing if someone is of higher gear score joins your mission, everything in your mission automatically adjusts towards their higher gear score. So an enemy that is usually typically 1 or 2 gear scores higher than you, the game adjusts based on that powerful ally who joined your mission, and it will not probably balance it off between you and your other friends to see how powerful it could actually balance off the enemy level with them. You won't be doing any damage, your friends will be doing more damage, but at the same time you will have to be more dependent on them to kill things because they decide to join your session and make things difficult for you because they're more powerful than you, which ramps up the enemy level. So keep that in mind as well. If you're willing to have powerful people help you, the enemies will also be powerful and more difficult for you as well. So engaging them isn't a good idea if you have someone who is 5 or 6 gear scores higher than you. You want allies or at least 1 or 2 gear scores higher than you, not 4 or 5 gear scores, because you definitely won't be killing bosses and semi-bosses if they're 4 or 5 gear scores higher than you. And that's it for how to use weapons and how to understand gear, how to customize, and how to do shadow switch between weapons, and how the mod goes. Now with regards to traits within the game, this is the primary thing that you want to know more than anything in the game. If you don't know anything about modding, you don't know anything about what a specific type of gear to get, what type of gear not to get. This is the primary thing you want to know above all things in the game. This is what makes you survive in boss battles. This is what makes you survive in semi-boss battles. This is what makes you don't bleed out a lot. What makes you don't take a lot of damage. What makes you do more puncture. What makes you have more stamina. What makes you consume your food that you consume faster. Make you shoot more bullets. Make you run faster. Make you jump higher. Make you survive. Make you dodge bullets. Certain things. Make you have more status effects. More status durations. Make you vault over things faster. Make you have more armor or more damage resistance. And able to shoot things at longer distance or gain more knowledge and more teamwork power, revive people faster. So this is what you need, the trait system. So in each trait system, as you progress through the game, you beat a boss, unlock a certain trait, or you beat a semi-boss, unlock a certain trait, or you discover a lot of items in a mission, and in those items in the mission gives you a lot of trait points. The more trait points you get, the more you unlock certain traits. However, certain traits can only be unlocked once you beat certain boss, but other traits are unlocked based on progression as you go in the game. What traits you will always want to have one before anything else are vigor. You want vigor on. You want Elder's knowledge on, because this gives you more experience in the game, which gives you more trait in the game. This is a primary. You must have this on. You must have vigor on. You must have Elder knowledge on. This is the primary. Anything that says blessing, you need to have that on. Mother's blessing, Elder's blessing, anything that says blessing on it, you want to have on, because they give you benefits, range damage, range reduction or range damage. Anything that's a blessing, something you want on. Always want faster revival speed. Based on the enemy types, an enemy could throw a projectile at you and damage you. It doesn't kill you. But if your revival speed of your fallen teammates is slow, the next shot could be kill you prior to you reviving your ally. Or the next shot could miss you completely because you revived them fast enough. You want revival speed. Next one you want is will to live. amount of damage you take, wound healing. If you have it 100, if you max this out to 100%, the amount of wounds you take based on the time period for which you take a healing potion or a blood worth, the time duration of completely healing your wounds is 100%. So that you want that up. You want faster reload, quick reload. You want that up. You want to fire those weapons off as fast as possible. Let's say you don't have a single shot weapon. Let's say your weapon is, and I'll switch weapons. Let's say your weapons is a rapid fire weapon, like a laser weapon, and you shoot off a beam. This weapon is actually not just firing a single beam, it's firing many rounds within a beam all at once. You see the round count is just going and going and going while still keeping it steady before it reloads. But what you want on that trait, you want to always have a quick reload of a weapon that does rapid fire, fast as possible, so you can hit off another amount of rounds at a rapid fire speed. Now what you want also, you want armor puncture. You also want to puncture. You always want to puncture through a very tough semi-boss or boss armor. You want to puncture their weak spot or puncture a part of their body that's weak, or any part of their body. If you're not good at aiming for their weak spot, you need to be able to have maxed out damage of armor puncture. That's a must. And other must is the other blessing. I already told you about blessing, so all blessing must be on. Everything that says Keeper's blessing, Mother's blessing, anything that says blessing, you need those on. Next thing you always want status mod power generation. This depends on how long your mod power is going to be on, or how long it takes before your mod power can be cast again. The regeneration time of your mod power. So you want that on. Status mod power generation. You want that to be maxed out. Status duration. You also want the duration power status of the mod power effect. So if your little bugs here, these are little swarm of bugs that are surrounding me, start to do damage to an enemy, you want to have the duration power of those status effect on the enemy to last much longer. So you want that on. You also want vaccine on to cure any status buildup. So if the status buildup is high, that's an enemy affected you based on the damage type that you're taking. Let's say you take corrosive damage or you take radiation damage. You don't want it to build up a lot. If you want to build up a little, because enemies will hit you with very high corrosive damage. And if you're build up, and it will build up over a period of time if you don't heal it. So if your build up vaccine is maxed out and minus 30%, you don't have to worry about it being a significant problem. You could do a nice little heal of that corrosive type, but you don't have to worry about it building up over time and becoming a problem later on. And you want weak point damage. That's a must as well. You have to max out weak point damage. Also something you want on. And these are based on the type of character you've chosen. I've chosen a rifleman, which means his job is to hit things from a distance. So based on the type of character you chose, it would give you different traits for that specific type of character. If you're selecting a brawler, a hand-to-hand combat guy, you would get different traits. But if you're selecting a sniper guy, you would get this type of trait. So if, let's say sniper, you would get this, which is mind's eye. Now, a brawler wouldn't get this, because a brawler is hand-to-hand combat type, not doing range damage type. But I select this character, so this is what you want, mind's eye. So you max that out, max out blessing, max out mod power generation as well. And let's see, wisdom, elemental damage, you also want that on, wisdom. If these are all, if you're using the sniper class, or the hunter class, which is the sniper class. And what else? Last resort, lower health damage, you want that on. Trigger happy firing rate, if you're using a rapid firing weapon, you want plus trigger happy. What else? And melee speed, not so much. But those are the ones you want on. And triage, or triage. Healing effectiveness. You want, once you do blood worth healing and drink a blood worth, like say I drink this blood worth. You want the healing effectiveness of this to be powerful enough to do away with whatever status buildup. So it's strong enough that will heal you faster. I guess you could say it makes you heal faster rather, or it gives you more of a boost than anything else. And that's pretty much it for traits. You have to select the ones you want more than anything, and the ones that you don't want, don't invest your points in them, because you will be tempted to waste your points on certain things. But the ones I just recommended are the ones you always want on. You want vigor on, you want endurance on for more stamina, you want elder knowledge on, you want anything that has blessing on, you want revival speed on, you want will to live on, you want fast hands, quick hands, you want armor puncture on, you want keeper's blessing on. These are all if you're using the sniper class. You want catalyst on, you want tormentor on, you want vaccine on, you want these maxed out, you want triage on, you want critical chance on, executor, you want kingslayer on, critical damage, you want exploiter on, weak point damage, you want I guess this is melee power, you don't really need that, guardian blessing on, mind's eye on, wisdom on, and last stand on, trigger happy on. If you're using a mod that has a detonation power, you might want to choose this as well and max this out before. You don't even mess with suspicion. That should be like your last thing that you have on, unless you're rolling with strangers who are douchebags. You want to put that on. But this is kind of like a waste of time and waste of effort. Never invest your power in suspicions. Demolition on only if you're using explosive mods. Only if you're using a mod that does explosive. And rapid fire or rapid strike on. So those are the ones you want on. So basically I already told you guys about everything already. The options of how you could set up your system, your gameplay, video, audio, the controls you can't do jack shit about. And the map is pretty much something you could change to make it smaller than this, but this is as max as the map goes. Explain the trait system, how it works in this game. Explain inventory, how you can move things and put things within your gear wheel based on inventory. You can buy these items from that guy, that vendor, and the different vendor types. And weapons that you could select from. You can select rapid fire weapons, single weapon, fire weapons, depending on the enemies you're going to fight. Some enemies move faster towards you, some enemies move slower. If it takes them longer to get towards you, you could do single shotguns, or single fire rifles, or single fire pistols. If they move fast, but I guess they do less damage, you could use rapid fire weapons, rapid fire pistols. But if you realize once you maxed out your rifle, or once you maxed out your shotgun, or once you maxed out your single fire pistol, like this is a single fire one, if you realize the power of this pistol is more powerful than anyone, by the time an enemy gets towards you, those little rapid fire weapons like this submachine gun is 22 damage. By the time you kill the enemy will be right in front of you. So you want to think to yourself, do I want to waste time hitting an enemy with multiple enemies coming towards me? Then the enemy's going to die by the time, and another enemy's going to come at me from the side while I'm wasting time on that enemy. Or do I want to use a single fire weapon that does max damage, kill that enemy at a certain distance before they even get towards me, and then dodge out of the way before the second enemy hits me? So it really depends on the type of gameplay you're looking for. Rapid fire, or get things done right away and get it out the way and kill enemies quick before they even do any damage or get towards you. I will go with single fire weapons because the single fire weapons seem to be the most powerful weapons in the game based on all-rounder enemy types in the game, with exception to bosses. With bosses, you may want to do more rapid fire weapons, or you want to do with mods that are more powerful on single fire weapons. So really you have to do trial and error for certain enemies. Most of the time, most enemies go down with single fire sniper rifle, a single fire hunting pistol, with a powerful mod on. So my recommendation is to always, if you're looking for a specific weapon to have in the game that's best for killing everything all around, these are the two weapons you want to go with. It's best for killing things all around. If you're a hunter, if you're the sniper class, you always want to go with the sniper rifle. You always want to go with the hunting pistol. There you can attach what mods you want onto it, and there you can make things best for yourself. Now, as a default, I usually let me remove this. Oh yeah, and by the way, in order to remove mods, you just press square on the mod, and then press X on the mod, and it comes off. And then you press circle if you're using PlayStation controller to go out of the window, or you could go back in the window, and then you deselect the weapon you have on by selecting another weapon, or double click on the X to make all weapons go away. Now, then scroll down to the weapon you want, the pistol. I want the pistol, select the pistol, and primary weapon. Scroll down, press X, select it, and then press square again to put the mod that you want on, and press square again to remove the mod you want off. Put the mod on, square again to remove the mod, and press X. So square to put it on, press square again to select it again, then press X to make it go off. Select it, press X, press square on the gun, and then press X again to remove it. So that's how that works. So for the mods you want on your pistol, single fire pistol and single fire sniper rifle, what I would go with, and I realize this kill enemies a lot within the game, are three choices. Depending on the enemy types, fast or slow. I typically go with, for the pistol itself, see if I removed it. Where's swarm? Probably didn't remove it. No. Check out the pistol. Yeah, I didn't remove it. Alright. So for the pistol, I will put swarm on, and for the sniper rifle, I will put unstoppable quills on. So what these are both corrosive types, and what they do is the swarm of enemies or swarm of little bugs around you attack and reduce your enemy's armor by swarming on them, and they leech on the health and slowly reduce their armor. Now, once the armor is completely gone, or they eat away at the health as well as the armor, you can then throw the quills at the enemy and then press R1 once it's hit the enemy. So once you press R1, alright, let me generate it. Show. Once you press R1 to cast your power, because R1 is always to cast power, so switch triangle to switch weapons, and then press R1 to always cast a mod power. The quills will go and hit the enemy, and will stay on the enemy, and won't do jack shit. So you can keep shooting them, left to right, shooting them, and they'll eventually die in time. So if you don't initiate the second phase of that quill, it will go away. So what I'll do is throw it, and this time I won't wait till it goes away. I'll press R1 again. What it does is, once you do that first time and then press R1 again second time, it does an explosion effects. That's why it's good to have the trait called detonation. This works with mods that does explosive effects, and it works great with the quill because it increases the explosion effect of the quill. So once you do the R1 with the swarm, and the swarm are attacking enemies, from left to right, and you're busy with a boss or semi-boss, you would then throw the, let me do that again. You would then throw the quills from your sniper rifle while you're going left to right. And then press R1 again, cast the second one, Explosion again. Cast a third one. R1 again. So this is there are monsters that once you cast once, you have to press the R1 button again to initiate it for explosion effects. So the first one, those swarms that are around the body are going to be killing enemies while you're working on fighting the semi-boss. And in the part of fighting, enemy swarming, you're coming from left to right while fighting the boss at the end. You want to be dodging slash attacks. You want to be dodging rifles being shot at you, elementals being towards you. So while you're moving left to right, dodging projectile coming forward from the front section while you're going left. Because projectiles go this way towards the direction you were standing prior. Over here, because the enemy sees you, because everything in this game are projectile based. Only some people have lock-on base. And they shoot you over here, you just move to the side while over here, while the guns or the ammunition or whatever they're shooting to you goes over there. But if an enemy gets too close and you see them too close, oh damn, I can't kill that boss yet. This enemy's right about to slash me right in my face. You press X. What X does is what is called the dodge in the game. Now the large dodge is the belly roll to the front and to the side. The smart dodge is what the professionals in the game who've been playing this for a long time do, and they just press X. So you're shooting X, shooting X, left to right X, aiming X, shooting X. Now in order to always do this and this and this and this to dodge attacks while you're shooting, you have to let go of the aim feature. Like you see, it zooms in when it's aiming or zoom in when you're aiming with a pistol. You have to let go of this. You have to make it go back into the third person phase where you can see the body. Because if it goes into this phase where you can see his body and he's to the left, once you go to try to do the dodge, you will go into the roll instead. You won't go back. You'll roll backwards instead of going to the rest. So you gotta let go of it. You gotta shoot the enemy. X. Move to the side, shoot. X. Shoot. X. Move to the left. X. X. Sometimes, because the enemies are coming at you so fast, you're running, dodging this guy who try to hit you. Boom. Shoot the boss. X. Move. And then sometimes this will happen. It's no big deal. It'll happen. The whole objective is to get used to capping off and doing this. One. So this is, like say there's 17 enemies and the boss is right in front of you. You gotta kill the boss. You gotta figure out how to kill the boss. But these annoying assholes are all around you. Shoot the boss once. Dodge the first guy that's around. Shoot the boss second. 1. 2. Dodge the fourth guy. Dodge the fifth guy. 3. Dodge the sixth guy. Boss. 7th guy. Boss. Boss. 8th guy. Boss. 9th guy. Boss. 10th guy. You know. Boss. 11th guy. So 11, based on the count, you shoot the boss once. Someone is around you trying to hit you. Shoot the boss again. Someone's around trying to hit you, or the boss is throwing stuff towards you. Run to the side.
Oh, that's it.
Shoot the boss. Now, if you run out of ammo, your character will always tell you that you ran out of ammo. I can say, "Oh, that's it." Let me cap off all my rounds. Or the weapon will tell you. If the character doesn't tell you, weapon will tell you. So while you're in mission, you're running to the side. As soon as you run out of ammunition and there are enemies near you, run. Don't try to refill your ammo while you're near an enemy. Keep at a distance and refill your ammo while you're away. So run for a short distance, refill your ammo, and then rinse and repeat. Do that. So that's how combat works in this game. You can either play the hard way and do the dodge, the long dodges, or you could do the quick dodge, cap, quick dodge, cap, quick dodge, cap, quick dodge, cap. And then shoot to the side, because they all shoot projectiles to where your direction is. So run, shoot, run to this way, shoot, run to this way, shoot. And they will always try to hit you based on where you're standing. But if they can't find you, they can't get you, they can't shoot you. Someone too close, dodge, cap, dodge, cap. And your little crystal here will always refill your ammo, as I stated before. It won't give you more ammo crates, but will refill your ammo, refill your mod power. So that's basically it. Now the last thing I always say with regards to this game, prior to anyone playing, if they want to play, is there's a way to pull up your trait sheet, like you see your elemental damage types. And you see once you go into inventory, at the bottom of the screen it says use items, assign a quick selection, and then it'll say toggle advanced stats. What that'll do is if you toggle advanced stats, it will pull up your advanced stats info on the type of armor you're wearing or the type of weapon you're carrying. So once you press L2 to go to your character sheet, it will show based on your character what your character is wearing, how powerful your armor is, how much your armor is wearing, and the type of elemental resistance your armor has. So my character right now has 19 bleed resistance, 13 fire resistance, 10 root resistance, 16 radiation resistance for enemy that cast radiation, 5 corrosive resistance, 11 electricity resistance, and 13 snow resistance or frozen resistance. Which means if he fights enemies that are frozen, he will take a lot of damage, and if he fights enemies that are radiation or corrosive, he'll take even more severe damage. So you always want your resistance to an elemental effect to be above 10. That's a default standard. You always want, based on the enemy type that you're fighting, you want it always to be 15 or above. You never want it, if you're fighting a specific type of enemy that does a elemental damage or slash damage, you always want it to be 15 and above, never below 15. So if I'm fighting enemies that does a lot of slash, I have it at 19. The max I believe is 20 in this game that you could get for everything, and I'll show you what that means. Now I'm going to put on the later armor, and the later armor will max out all elemental resistance type. So this is how basically the stats in the game, everything maxed out. So it doesn't matter what enemy I fight, whatever damage type that the enemy does, the later armor resists all elemental damage from all elemental enemy types. However, the later armor has a very ultra heavy weight capacity, which means you'll be doing belly flops if you try to do a roll. You will always fall forward, which allows the enemy to get in at least 3 or 4 slash before you even get up to recover to do a slash. And even the dodge, you see, you don't do a quick dodge and then shoot. He takes at least an additional 2 steps backwards before you could even go a cap off, which allows the enemy to do at least 1 or 2 slashes as well. So you never want your weight of your armor to be in the ultra heavy type, because encumbrance means the amount of elemental power damage type that the enemy will do towards you, not just the weight. The weight, which shows in red, it shows ultra heavy, basically on not just the weight itself, but also the damage type it will take. So you want to lower that. You want your encumbrance type and weight type to always be either heavy or medium. So for this character, I'll lower it by picking weight classes to get it back to heavy, but doing so will also lower your stat amount. So you have to make sure, based on enemy types, if you're going to lower your damage resistance to a certain elemental effect types, you have to select the right one to give you just the amount of balance that you need. So it's back to heavy, which is fine. And now I have 20 bleed resistance, I have 14 root resistance, I have 16 fire resistance, 11. So the enemy type I would want to fight, based on the location I'm going to go to, has to be an enemy that does a lot of fire damage, or they shoot a lot of fire damage, or do a lot of fire damage types. It would be foolish to go into a battle against an enemy that does a lot of radiation or corrosive damage if you have high fire damage resistance, because it makes no point. You will take a lot of encumbrance, elemental damage from this enemy if it's not high enough. So what's the point of having heavy armor if you're taking a lot of damage because you haven't increased the damage resistant type? per the enemy level of that location. So you have to select the type of armor for the type of enemy that you're going to be fighting. At the beginning of this game, I'm going to be fighting root enemies. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select root resistance armor type. And before, what I had on was the cultist, I believe. Yeah, the cultist stuff, which is shows you the type. Pack, blood pack. You see to the right, it says the type of skin. Right now, I have the blood pack on. What the blood pack does is give me more duration. It lowers my armor type. It's not that much about against root damage types, but the enemy types I'm going to be fighting are hard level. They're not going to be ultra violent level, which is nightmare, or chaotic apocalyptic type, which are the hardest within the game. So a root damage of 10 is okay. It's not best. So I want to increase my root at the same time, root resistance. So that's at 14. My bleeding goes down though. Don't like that. Nope, that goes up to ultra heavy. So as you're scrolling down to your different armor, it will tell you what are root resistance. 6 root resistance, 3 bleed, additional bleed resistance, 5 bleed resistance. It says 5, 2 root. It's 19 bleed, but 10 root. Not exactly what I want. Fire. So you really have to select what you want. Okay, so 17 bleed, 14 root. That's fair. For hard mode, that's fair. And it's at armor of 550 with a weight of 600. Don't really like that, but at 550 on hard mode, that's, I guess it's okay. I don't think it's okay, but let me see if I can find something better. 4 bleed, 1 fire now. Stronger armor. Let's see what we got here. 10, 17 now. Both root and 5 go down. Scrapper. 5. Okay, this is good. This is good. The root is 10, not great, but the armor is at 594 now, rather it was 550, and the encumbrance and the weight is at 55. The bleed is at 19, and the root damage is at 10. Now all enemies are going to be doing root damage. They're mostly going to be doing damage type to the armor itself, and some are going to be doing bleeding effects. So the most thing you want to factor in is high armor type. That's the most important thing. So I really want to, I know this will go down, and I want it to go down significantly. 600, okay, I could deal with this. I could do 10 root, I could do 17 bleed, and 612 with a 66, I could deal with that. And let's see, give me a 7.5 damage boost, which is power transfer, and I have 60% duration. Yeah, and scraps. Now for the last part of this how to do things tutorial, real quick, because it seems like a lot, but it is a lot. But I'm getting it knocked off right away. Is your rings and your amulets. Based on the rings type or the enemy damage type, or however you want to do things, damage type towards enemy or what you want to pick up. Let's say you want more scraps, you put this ring on. Let's say you want more armor and you want to lower your encumbrance. Boom, 734, and your encumbrance is still at heavy, but you got more armor. You want to increase. Let's say you want to do more damage to your mod type. Boom, your armor goes back to the way it was, but now you got 25% more mod damage. Let's say you want to remove this. You don't want this for your ring. You want to do more mod regeneration, like it says 35 mod firing rate for your mod goes down by 35, but mod regeneration goes, or mod generation goes up to about 100%. Now, if you're having single fire weapons, this is beautiful because this is single fire weapons. You don't have to worry about rapid fire because this only shoots 1 round. So this is perfect with this mod setup right here. Now you got 2 mod powers. Increase mod power regeneration 25, and you increase mod power by 25 as well as mod rate. Now you don't really need this, but with this on, you could just have this 2 on, and then you could just put, now see your armor went back down because you removed the previous ring I had on, which increased your armor and encumbrance. So what you want to do is, based on this, you want to increase your armor by putting this amulet on. So now you're at 530, which is satisfactory. Your encumbrance at medium, which means you're not going to do heavy elemental damage towards you. And your weight is at 26, which is great. So this is satisfactory. It's not best. But if you want to increase that as well, you figure, well, I was at 612. You then just increase your armor. So now you can throw this bad boy on, the big guy. And now you're at 574 at 41. And now you're at 12 root and 16 damage. You got 2 durations. You got more armor. Your encumbrance isn't heavy, so you won't be taking heavy damage. Your mod regeneration is faster, and you don't have to worry about it lowering your firing rate because there's single fire weapons. And your mod power will be at 25. So you got 25 mod power, 100 mod regeneration, and you have mod duration periods at 60% with the cultist type. So blood pack is very essential if you want to have an enjoyable game without worrying about enemies doing too much damage towards you. So I would go with this, and I'm going to test this out in mission right now so you can see for yourself. It doesn't always work as beautiful as you want it to. I sometimes think the quill is not that great. I sometimes want to use fire, and especially since I'm fighting root enemies, corrosive don't work on root enemies. The root damage enemies are weak towards fire. So corrosion and fire work good together. The swarm is basically for keeping enemies at bay or around you, but the fire damage towards your sniper rifle will do a lot of damage once you cast it on. And the regeneration period for the hot shot is much faster than most other mod regeneration. So with 100% mod regeneration on hot shots on the rifle, you can kill a lot of things real quick. However, a single fire sniper rifle doesn't work a lot on fast enemies. You want fast firing weapons to slow down fast enemies. But if you believe you kill an enemy quick before they get towards you, be my guest, use a different weapon. I think I pretty much covered everything within this game. I'm now going to select the mission. I'm now going to go to campaign. I'm going to put it on regular campaign, and I'm going to select the mode. And you can select the different type of modes you want, and each mode offers you a different reward. Normal mode offers you normal mission rewards. Hard mode offers you hard mission rewards, nightmare, apocalypse. Some people want to skip all the way to apocalypse to get the best rewards. I don't recommend it. This game is not that type of game where you could just skip and go be carried by another person. Otherwise, you'd be dying a lot. You want to become strong, you have to do things in progression. You got to go normal, then hard, or you could skip normal, go to hard, then go to nightmare, then go to apocalypse. Never skip hard and go straight to nightmare. If you're a newbie, you can skip normal and go to hard if you're a newbie, but never as a newbie go into nightmare. It's incredibly foolish. Start from hard if you want that challenge, and work your way to nightmare, and then apocalypse. People think they're diehard, be my guest, but you will be taking a lot of damage and you'll be carried. This is not like certain games where you could just beat the game unless you understand the fight mechanics, as I stated before. So I'm going to be playing this hard. It's now selected. Now, if you understand the fight mechanics, as I stated before, going left to right, shooting, switching, using the mod at specific times, regenerating mod, dodging. You know, even if you make a... Now you see how fast he recovered? That's because his encumbrance is at medium. It's not just the weight of his armor, but it is the weight of his armor. The encumbrance is just for elemental damage effect. But because his weight is now at 42, which is at medium, he now is much faster. Even when he rolls forward, rolls to the side, it's much faster with him aiming. So everything is based on speed in this game, or it's based on the power of your mod and weapon power. You can level up by the guys as I stated before. So now I'm going to go on mission. I got everything out the way, stated within the game, out the way real quick. I'm going to go on mission. And I'll give you an example. And after I fight the first couple of guys, I won't even play the entire game. Alright, so I'm not going to waste time and play the entire mission. I'm just going to do this as a sample towards how you can fight in the game. How you can fight enemies in the game, how you can do damage in the game. I picked the strongest weapons in the game because they're the easiest to kill enemies, and based on the class type I selected at the beginning of the game when I select character selection, I could select brawler, I could select wizard or whatever you want to call that, or I could select the hunter class. Really based on how your mod and your gear and your weapon and what rewards you're going to get based on your class type. And so I selected the sniper class type. So I went in the most powerful weapons because I know the sniper weapon in the game will kill enemies real quick at that distance, rather than certain melee weapons will work better with the brawler. So I select the most powerful weapon, shooting weapons in the game, so I don't want enemies to get near me. So I select the best. They're both single powered, but at max level. They both are in the 300 range. Every other weapon in the game
bag's full
that are at 300 are shotgun types, and shotgun does a spread rather than a direction towards you going forward. I don't need spread, I need direct shots. Melee, to cast melee is R2. It's very simple. If you're doing a brawler class, it's just press R2. And to do a melee charge, you just hold down on R2. And you will know once you do the melee charge, because the guy would make this loud noise. Rather than... See, he's just saying stuff. But when you do a melee charge by holding down R2, there's a... So that's the melee charge to get a bleeding effect. Now, if you're doing a public mission, random people will join your mission, and you'll do missions within the weapon. Now, if you're carrying the guy that's the sniper, which I'm the sniper class,
here they come.
You double-click on L2. What you do is you double-click on L2, and you go into sniper mode. Double-click on L2, go into sniper mode. Or if you could just aim, shoot them by yourself, and they'll die. Or you double-click on L2, and before they even get to you, you shoot them and they go down. So, if you see two people join your mission, like the guys who joined me, random people, you go back to your stone and wait about 10 seconds, 10 or 15 seconds, and then touch it, and then they'll join you. However, the issue with people joining you is that it also respawns back enemies. It's kind of like Bloodbourne. Enemies will respawn back once you touch this orb. You load in your people that will help you in mission or join you in a public mission, but will also respawn enemies. And then there are sometimes certain people have long loading times based on their game or their network, and you could be standing here for quite some time. If you're not that type of person, you could opt out, exit, and then load back in to someone who has a good network. However, once you're stuck into a mode that someone who has a bad network or a network that has lag, you cannot press any button to get out. You have to then turn off your game and turn back on the game and reload into the game itself. Otherwise, you could actually be here for a while. If you're not that type of person or not patient, You wouldn't do it. So what I'll do is I'm going to exit out this game and go back into my PlayStation menu and turn the game back on again. See, no one's loading in. So one of these guys have a bad network that's basically crashing everything and not forcing people to join. Or it's basically people who made the game then considered certain people who had bad networks. So it's partly the people who created its fault. You have to consider that. Some people have good networks, some people have bad networks. They don't consider that. So I'm gonna get out